Could Tyron Stokes reclassify to the 2025 class?
You are Locked On Louisville, your daily podcast on the Louisville Cardinals. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Card Nation, what's going on, everyone? Welcome into this Thursday edition of the Locked On Louisville podcast. I'm your host, Dalton Pence. This is my fifth year covering the University of Louisville, third year hosting this show, and I want to take the time to personally thank you all for making us your first listen of the day. Just a reminder, Locked On Louisville, free and available on all streaming services, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, 5 days a week, covering your team every day. Today's episode of the show brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can get $250 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. All you have to do is visit FanDuel.com to get started. A report surfaced on Tuesday evening suggesting that Tyran Stokes will not be playing AAU ball this summer, and thus the reclassification rumors have surfaced once again. Louisville fans discussing this a ton on Wednesday. We'll break it down. What would it mean for the Cardinals from a financial standpoint? What about a fit on the current roster? How likely is a reclassification? All that and more coming up shortly. We'll talk about Khani Rooths' development between year one and year two. The rising sophomore, I believe, has a ton of potential. We'll explain what we would like to see from him this offseason heading into year two in Pat Kelsey's system. And then to conclude the show, didn't have much time to talk about it on the Wednesday show because the game was still going on, but Louisville baseball walked off Kentucky in extra innings late on Tuesday evening. We will discuss that as well. We were going to get into some football talk. I mean, the spring game is Friday night, but what I like to do on this show is that to an extent, I like to let the audience dictate what we discuss because this is a show for you all. So I want to talk about what you all want to hear. And man, there were so many requests to talk about this Tyran Stokes situation. And for those that don't know, Tyran Stokes, the number one recruit in the 2026 class from Louisville, Kentucky. He has been a player that many have talked about possibly reclassifying into the 2025 class like A.J. Debansa did when he went from 2026 to signing with BYU in the 2025 class. But it had pretty much been, reiterated time and time again that, hey, look, he's going to stay in the 2026 class. And it was only rumors, and those rumors hadn't been completely removed. Like, they haven't been completely torn down, but it felt like that Tyran Stokes, for the most part, is going to stay in the 2026 class. Well, a report from Sam Lance of the Zags blog on Tuesday evening, this is what he said in a tweet. New, number one ranked junior Tyran Stokes will not be playing AAU basketball this summer, sources tell zagsblog.com. Stokes has long been rumored a reclassification candidate. And thus the Louisville fan base is having the discussion again. It doesn't mention why he's not going to play. Like, my first thought, well, maybe he could be rehabbing an injury. That feels more likely than reclassifying. Although it doesn't mention that. So we're just playing a huge hypothetical game in this segment. We're exploring all of the theoretical possibilities. How likely is it that he reclassifies? Like I said, I've been in the mindset that he's going to stay in the 2026 class. It's been reiterated time and time again. It's not impossible to see a situation where he moves his timeline up and joins a college program next fall. But at the moment, on April 10th, my intuition is telling me he stays in the 2026 class. It's hard to really keep tabs on reclassification because there's a lot moving behind the scenes with, academics and making sure that players are able to get admitted to universities from an academic standpoint. Reclassifications aren't a thing until they are, if that makes sense. So, okay, let's play the hypothetical that Stokes does indeed reclassify, which I don't think he will, but he could. Let's say that he does. Of course, Louisville's going to be interested, as would almost every other top program, because he is the number one prospect in the class. He's been a top prospect really ever since he started playing high school ball, played at Prolific Prep, now plays at Notre Dame. I mean, he has been a high-profile recruit ever since, he has played high school basketball. I think the first thing we have to talk about is the financial aspect of this. We know that Louisville had a budget to bring back their guys and retain their players. There's that $8 to $10 million transfer portal budget that was rumored and floated out there. We don't know if that's particularly true. It could not be. But the Cardinals have brought in top transfers. They brought in 3 of them: Adrian Woolley, Ryan Conwell, and Isaac McNeely. Javon Hadley was brought back. I think that there's a good chance they can bring back Kason Pryor. So the biggest question now, well, there's 2 of them really, the money and the fit. Do you have enough funds to be able to bring in Tyran Stokes? Who knows? Because if you've utilized a good portion of your transfer budget, maybe, I don't know. Of course, this is just me looking at this logically. It wouldn't surprise me if Louisville said, you know what, we have been preparing for a Tyran Stokes offer, because you saw what AJ DeBanza got. And it's hard to go to Tyran Stokes and say, you know what, I don't feel comfortable giving you the money that he got. He's going to get paid, as he should. He's the number 1 player in the country. Maybe Louisville has already been preparing for him, or preparing an offer for him. So maybe the transfer portal budget and this budget are independent of each other. Maybe they have their own Tyran Stokes budget. I don't know. Maybe just spitballing here. Or maybe this is a situation where Pat Kelsey and company in the 502 circle can go, hey, look, I know that we had this amount of money committed, but we're talking about the number 1 player in the class that is from the 502. You're going to have a little bit more leverage to go back to your big donors and say, how much more can you throw in? I think if push came to shove, and who knows, maybe Adidas gets back involved. There's so many different opportunities. It's going to be a lot of money. But my gut would be telling me that if push came to shove, the Cardinals would find a way to make it work. I think the more pressing question would be, what does the fit look like? Of course, I have been a firm believer in get the most talent and find a way to make it work later. I'm going to stick with that line of thinking. But you've got Michael Brown Jr. You brought in 3 high-profile transfers to the backcourt. So you've got a crowded backcourt. It's likely that you're going to play a 3-guard backcourt in the starting lineup. But you've also got Javon Hadley back. And let's say, for the sake of hypotheticals, that you also bring Kason Pryor back. Like, you've got those 2, and those 2 are going to demand minutes at the 4, maybe the 3 and the 5, depending on what the personnel looks like on the court. You have your 5 spot with Sananda Frew, Ali Khalifa, and James Scott. Not to mention Kobe Rogers and Khani Rooths, and then anyone else they were to potentially bring in. But we're also talking about Tyran Stokes. Maybe it's a reclassify and you get him to Louisville and he redshirts. Maybe it's both. Maybe he is injured, but he skips AAU and goes to college and redshirts and is ready to go year 2. Possibility. I mean, of course, we're just playing all the hypotheticals here. I would be very interested to see, because you are dealing with a crowded rotation right now, and you're not going to be able to play everyone. So someone's going to be unhappy with their minutes. I think as a result, you could see someone enter the portal if Tyran Stokes were to commit. Of course. Tyran Stokes is going to play if you bring him onto this roster. Good chance he starts. I mean, you're telling me that the number 1 player in the country is going to come off the bench? I don't think that's going to happen. I think Stokes would be starting. So how would that look? Do you throw Pryor at the 5 and put Stokes at the 4 and then run the 3 guards? Because you don't have the smallest lineup, but defensively might be a little to be desired there. Or do you start 2 players in the backcourt and then throw Stokes at the 3, Pryor at the 4, and Sananda Frew at the 5? Do you have enough floor spacing? Stokes needs to continue to improve that 3-point shot. He's a point forward, so he's going to be handling the ball a good amount. I think what's more likely with Tyron being 6'7" and close to 250 pounds, I think what's more likely is that you run a 3-guard lineup, you play Tyron at the 4, and then you have Pryor at the 5. And then coming off the bench, you have one of the guards that doesn't make the starting 5. You have Javon Hadley, Sananda Frew. It's such a interesting discussion because someone's getting left out of the rotation. Someone or multiple players aren't getting the minutes that they probably should. But guys, if you have a chance to bring the number 1 player in the country on your roster, he's ready. He's been ready. I mean, he's probably ready as a sophomore. If you put Tyron Stokes on this roster, you've told everyone, I'm all in. Push your chips to the front of the table. I'm all in. You're trying to capitalize and win a national championship. So there's a lot that goes into this. I ultimately think, and this might be unpopular, but I think I would rather Tyron stay in the 2026 class to where, you definitely have the budget to go get him. And you have some more roster flexibility to make it work with everyone else. But again, I'm all for improving the roster by any means necessary, even if it makes some players on the team currently a little disgruntled. I'm all for pushing your chips into the middle of the table and going all in for a title because, as the old saying goes, opportunity is not a lengthy visitor. So this is something that we will continue to monitor. Maybe it's a nothing burger. Maybe he's not playing AAU because he's injured. And then this discussion will have been for nothing. But until we hear something one way or the other, we'll at least talk about it because it's worth talking about. Speaking of the current roster, I want to start having some segments throughout April where we talk about what development looks like in respective players' cases. And the first player we'll talk about is Khani Rooths because this is an intriguing opportunity this offseason for him. But I think that the potential is sky high for the rising sophomore. We'll discuss more when we come back on this Thursday edition of the Locked On Louisville podcast. The NBA playoffs are almost here. FanDuel is giving new customers an incredible way to get in on the action right now. When you join FanDuel and place your first $5 bet, you'll get $250 in bonus bets if that bet wins. For me, I love that I'm finally going to be able to watch my Houston Rockets in the playoffs. So you best believe I'm looking at Jalen Green 3-pointers, Amin Thompson steals, and Fred VanVleet assists. FanDuel has so many ways to bet your favorite player props. Don't miss out. Head to FanDuel.com and claim your $250 in bonus bets today. Cardinal fans, want to take the time again to thank you all for making us your first listen of the day. Just a reminder, show is free and available on all streaming services 5 days a week, your team every day. News on Wednesday that the University of Louisville Athletics Board is going to meet regarding a potential Pat Kelsey raise. So we are monitoring that, and that will be something that we talk about on the Friday episode of the show. So just be patient on that. That will be discussed in due time. I'm really excited to talk about development for the players that are being retained, which are all of them but one. That's Corin Johnson, who went to the portal, which really isn't a surprise. But we saw with the Florida Gators and the Houston Cougars, the transfer portal helps, but player development is the largest key to sustained success. Kelvin Sampson has a very unique blueprint, and it's working. Todd Golden, hell of a coaching job this year. Development is a huge key. You can't just replace your team every single year. Khani Rooths is an interesting situation for me because top 40 prospect came in this year, maybe played a little bit more than I thought he was going to at times, but I mean, he averaged 13.4 minutes per game, played in 35 games, didn't start a game, but averaged 3.3 points per game, 3.0 rebounds per game as well. It was an up and down season for the freshman. And having high expectations for a freshman right away, it can be tough because guys need some time to learn a college system. I think that not having any continuity on this roster, like everyone learning at the same time, probably hurt him a little bit in terms of learning everything. Because everyone was learning how to play with each other. But Kason Pryor goes down, Corin Johnson goes down, and Boubacar Traore misses over a month, almost 2 months. And Khani Rooths had to step up this season. And he had some games where he looked really solid. He had 8 points and 5 rebounds against Winthrop in late November. He had a 10-point game and 6 rebounds against Duke in early December. 12 points and 7 rebounds against SMU, which was his best performance of the season, but overall was a depth piece off the bench, high energy spark plug that you can put in to give you that maximum effort. Offensively, didn't give you too much. You look at his shooting splits and they're not really good. 39% from the field on 3 attempts, 23% from 3 on 1.5 3-point attempts per game, and 56% from the free throw line on 1 free throw attempt per game, respectively. The 6'8" freshman from the DC area, I felt like was going to be a player that needed a year or two to just continue to refine that offensive skill set. Sort of a late bloomer on the offensive side in high school and showed his senior year how much potential is there. I mean, he's extremely athletic, jump out of the gym, verticality and athleticism. I think that, the physical tools are there. 6'8", can jump with anyone on the court. The defensive upside, I think that's where he's going to find his role cut out the quickest, is being able to be an early defensive specialist while that offensive game continues to grow. Understanding the system that Pat Kelsey's playing is going to continue to help him. Year one, he's got another year under his belt, college offseason, where he's going to just continue to get better. I think playing against the guys that he's going to be going up against in practice is going to help out tremendously. The upside is there defensively. I think that his role next season needs to continue to be that high-energy guy that is put into the game to be a good rebounder, to be a good defender, but also a good slasher. Even if the three-point shot isn't as clearly defined, like you see 23% on 1.5 attempts. If he were to keep that same number, 1.5 attempts, or even increase that by 1, but get to the low 30s, I think that is a significant jump that's going to help him out a ton. A lot of it seemed like it was confidence, had open looks this year, just didn't knock them down. It's okay. He's a freshman. A lot of growth for high-profile recruits seem to come between year 1 and year 2. So if he can be that slashing wing that gives you good defense and good rebounding, I think he's going to have a clear, defined role on this team, because at the moment, I know he's got the potential, guys. Don't get it twisted. Don't sit here and take what I'm saying and turn it into something it's not. I think 2 things are true at one time. Number one, it might be a struggle to get him on the court because of the players that Louisville has coming in and who they have coming back. But he has the potential to still be special. And I think it comes with more efficiency scoring-wise. Like, I think that if he's going to be able to get on the court significantly, it's going to come with more confidence on the offensive end, or he becomes, at the very least, a respectable three-point shooter to where if you leave him open, he can knock down that shot. If you give him the ball, you're going to have to guard him because with that length and strength and athleticism, he can get to the rim. And if he becomes that slasher, that bully with his size, strength, and athleticism, then you give yourself that advantage that you're seeing teams that made the second weekend in the tournament utilize to their respective advantages. And then I think the most growth is going to come defensively and rebounding. We saw the tenacity. We saw the willingness to crash the boards. And if he's just going to be able to continue to do that, continue to feel more comfortable in this defense, I mean, the sky is the limit for Rooths. I'm extremely excited to see what he's going to be able to do next season. So, going to be something to just keep an eye on as we go through the offseason workouts to hear how he's doing and heading in to next season. Haven't had a lot of baseball talk on the show. Had a lot of basketball talk because things have just been wild. But Louisville baseball walked off their rival in the battle for the Bluegrass, and it was stressful, guys. Let's recap it when we come back on the final segment of this Thursday edition of the Locked On Louisville podcast. And of course, as I mentioned, I mainly want to discuss the things that you all want to hear about. This show is for you all. If you ever have any suggestions or questions or anything you want answered, whether it's a mailbag question, whether it is a topic or a segment idea, please drop them in the YouTube comments. Send me a message on Twitter. I'll be more than happy to, incorporate questions or segment ideas into the show. I have no problem. It's 5 days a week for a reason. But definitely appreciate you all for tuning in and making us your first listen. Whew, what a stressful Tuesday night midweek game. Battle of the Bluegrass. The Cardinals walk Kentucky off in the 10th inning, 4-3. Eddie King Jr. singles to score Garrett Pike and allowing the Cardinals to defeat the Kentucky Wildcats. Is the 100th career victory that Dan McDonnell has over an in-state school. And it's always nice to beat Kentucky, regardless of Kentucky's record. But Louisville, 14th in the country, was expected to win this game. Baseball's a very interesting sport because one game sample size, any team can win. Random variation is really huge in baseball. But the Cardinals are now 25-7, 8-4 in conference play, and 21-3 at home. I was really impressed with the pitching. Midweek pitching has been a little bit of an issue this season, and pitching in general has been a little bit of an issue. But, man, I thought that the midweek pitching was pretty solid. The Cardinals as a staff, and they had, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 pitchers appear, gave up 9 hits, 3 runs, 2 of them earned, walked 5, struck out 12. Thought it was pretty good. Kentucky opened up with a lead. They scored early in the second inning. Louisville answered right back with Eddie King Jr. Eddie King Jr. has been, completely coming to life lately. Jake Monroe, which has been the team's most clutch hitter, got on base with the triple. Louisville was able to answer. Zion Rose singled up the middle to score Alex Alisea in the 5th. Unfortunately, Kentucky was able to answer with a single in the top of the 6th, and it went back and forth. Teams unable to bring guys home, and then the 9th inning comes around, and it was a very interesting 9th inning for the Louisville Cardinals. Of course, hindsight is 2020, and I'm going to be an armchair coach here, but Tagger Tyson got the leadoff double, and Kamayu Neighbors was trying to bunt him over to third. Tyson got caught leaning. Neighbors missed the bunt, and Tyson was thrown out at second, and just overall really tough. And then Neighbors, I think, grounded out, I think, wasn't it? Potentially, but it was 2 outs. Alex Alisea got a double, which stung because you're like, well, that would have won the game right there. But you have a runner on second, 2 outs with arguably your best hitter coming up, Lucas Moore. He's been fantastic this year. Alisea gets a little bit too aggressive and tries to steal third base. I thought, with him being arguably the fastest guy or one of the fastest guys on the team, a base hit's going to score you from second because you're off with the contact. Don't understand what getting another 90 feet's going to do for you unless you're just trying to play like the pass ball situation. But even then, it's much more risky. Regardless, oh well, you go to the 10th. Kentucky strikes first in extra innings. A single scores Cameron and was just rough. Because you're like, man, you've hurt yourself here, and I hope that this doesn't come back to haunt you. Well, the Cardinals clutched up. Lucas Moore walked. Garrett Pike singled to move Moore to second. And then Jake Monroe, who has been clutched time and time again, gets a single. Moore scores. Eddie King Jr., big-time plate appearance for the senior, and he was able to come through. Looking at the box score, Alex Alisea was 3 for 5 in this game. Eddie King Jr., 2 of 5 with 2 RBIs. Jake Monroe, 2 for 4 with an RBI. Just a tough day at the office for the Cardinals offense, which usually is pretty potent, but thankfully the pitching was able to pick up the bats. And in baseball, it doesn't have to be pretty. But the crowd was electric. It was kind of a chilly night, probably the coldest evening of the week. Chilly night, crowd was into it. You saw on TV, the dugout was into it. This level of fire and passion was something that we've just been looking for the past couple of years. And the Cardinals end up getting this victory. And yeah, sure, midweek games don't mean the most, but when you have a rivalry game, I don't give a damn, man. Go out and win it. That means a ton. The Cardinals now continue through the month of April. They're going to be on the road this weekend. They've got 2 critical road series coming up in ACC play. They're on the road in Raleigh to play NC State for a Friday, Saturday, Sunday series. They will host Western Kentucky next Tuesday before going to Clemson Thursday, Friday, Saturday. The Tigers, really good team, but the Cardinals, like I said, 25-7, looking to continue to move up ACC standings and solidify their case for a top 16 seed and to be able to host a regional. So love to see what the baseball team's doing this year, and hopefully they can continue to look good in ACC play. But that's going to wrap up this show today. We'll be back here tomorrow where we talk about potentially a Pat Kelsey raise and extension, all coming up on the Locked On Louisville podcast. Everyone have a great day, and go Cards.